We've also, I mean, there's also situations where we've had maybe people getting drugged,
yes,
or alcohol being played there, and they give consent because of that. That also
yes,
works as rape, isn't it?
Yes, because at that particular point in time, the person is incapacitated. The person cannot give consent because the person is under the influence of a drug or alcohol.
Yeah. Two things you mentioned that I want to clarify. First of all, you did say it's from a man to a woman.
Yes.
So a man cannot be raped, is what you're saying?
No, a man, under our law,
yes,
in Lagos State, a man cannot be raped, but a man can be sexually assaulted by penetration. And the good thing is, rape and sexual assault by penetration carry the same imprisonment, which is life.
It's just the word that's different.
It's just the word. We just try to keep, we call it traditional rape, and then we have modern rape, which is the sexual assault by penetration. Okay.
And the second thing you mentioned there about being married, I know I've seen cases about, where they said a husband can never rape his wife. Mm. And I know you mentioned something like that. Is that the case? Is it impossible?
We don't have marital rape. But as I said, rape is section 258. And then you have section 259 that provides for sexual assault by penetration. Okay. So a wife can bring an action against her husband under that section.
So how does that work? Because that's also one of the things I know when I talked about the police earlier. Mm. A lot of people don't understand it. You're married to him. Why are you complaining? It's a duty you owe him. Yeah. So why does that not, how come it's possible that she can be sexually assaulted by her husband?
It depends. I guess I haven't seen a woman bring an action, a wife bring an action against her husband, but what the intenders of the law, what they contemplated is, for example, if a husband and a wife are cohabiting, they're still married, but they're not intimate. And maybe they say, let's just wait, let's see how it goes, let's give it a try. They're trying to reconcile, but one party is not willing. But they're still under the same roof. And then one day the man comes back drunk. I say man because most times it's the man. The man comes back drunk, and then he has his way with her. That's a sexual assault by penetration, because for that particular act, she did not consent.
Wow. That's the word consent is actually very deep, because then it means, okay, we've talked about minors earlier, we've talked about adults. There's something that, I can't remember where I saw that. I don't think it was a Nigerian case, actually. But I don't know if it applies here, where I had seen someone who gave consent and then withdrew it.
Yes.
How does that work as well? Because, if the guy says, okay, you said you wanted it, and I thought you're changing your mind, was maybe you trying to blow guy or whatever. Yeah. How does that work for the case?
The law says rape happens upon slightest penetration. So up until when penetration occurs, the woman can still withdraw consent. So if maybe she initially was saying yes and all of that, and then he's about to penetrate, and at that point in time, she says no, she has withdrawn her consent.
How do you prove consent sometimes? Because it's also possible that, like you said, okay, maybe I want a favor. Let's assume I'm a girl. I want a favor, and I seduce somebody, I get the favor, then I go report that I got raped. And if maybe they decide to use swabs or whatever, and they find the man's DNA around whatever, and how do you then prove the consent part of things if he says there was consent and she says there was no consent?
But that's what rape is about. Rape is not a tea party that you invite people to come and see, oh, I'm being raped. And that's why we have the courts. The court will look at the court will admit testimony of both parties, and the court will also look at the circumstantial evidence before him or her, before he or she makes a decision. But at the end of the day, the court has to be mindful by every.
Have you had situations like that being reported where it turned out to be maybe a hoax or a lie?
We're not there yet in Nigeria.
People don't.
No, because before they even come out and speak, the whole stigma, we're not yet there. I hope we don't get there.
What's your, on a monthly basis or on a weekly basis, I don't know, what's the ratio of people who come to your
for my office, I get a lot of cases on domestic violence.
Okay.
But I know that the OPD, the Mirabel Center, this past week, one day got 8 victims, just one day. I know OPD gets loads of, it's at least 2 cases a day.
Wow.
And those are people that this doesn't reflect the true picture of things, because
there's a lot more who don't speak up. Let's talk safety now. How does safety work? What sorts of mechanisms can be put in place by people to try as much as they can to not fall victim to situations like this?
I think people should just be aware of their surroundings, especially if it's a new place. When you get into a place, try and look at exit routes, you know, be aware of your surroundings, and then try not to walk, especially as a girl, as a lady, try not to walk alone. Try to make sure that people, your family members, know where you are at every given point in time. And then if somebody approaches you and you see the person is trying to get violent, be assertive. Don't just say, no, stop it. Say no. And then if something if it tries to escalate, you scream and you shout. Don't just scream. Don't just stay there at the person's mercy. Yeah. And then dress in a way that you can easily escape. You notice I did not say don't dress provocatively, because that's a myth. Yeah. It has nothing to do with what the victim is wearing. But just dress in a way that once you're able to, you know, if possible, so scream, just be comfortable so you can quickly run out.
So is it ever possible that it is a victim's fault? Is it ever possible? I mean, using the word victim already means it's not the person's fault. But is there ever a scenario where you can say she asked for it?
Rape victims, there's nobody that asks to be raped. Even if she's on the street naked, she's not asking you to rape her. She may have some mental issues. No victim deserves to be raped. Nobody asks for it. That's just a myth, and that's just society trying to defend the perpetrator and accuse the victim.
So she says no and doesn't resist, and doesn't fight back.
You don't always have to have, different people react differently. Some people, if they approach like that, they can scream, they can, maybe who knows, they've gotten some self-defense lessons, so they may hit him in the throat or something. Some other people freeze. I had a case where she got into the car and the man told her, I have a gun in my back seat, shut up and I'm going. And she was just in the car and she froze, and the man had his way with her. I was thinking that, if I was in that situation, what would I have done now? That maybe I would have tried to break the window, or, you know, but everybody to everybody his own. Yeah. But when you hear cases like that and you see that there's no struggle or there's no force, there's no act of violence, it does not mean that the person gave consent. Okay.
Let's move on now a bit to domestic violence and talk about what constitutes domestic violence. When is it abuse?
Okay. Domestic violence is basically, it can be physical abuse, it can be economic abuse, it can be stalking, it can be harassment. Domestic violence, as you know, has to be in a relationship where two people are cohabiting. Okay. So husband and wife, partners, domestic staff and employee.
Children.
Children, yes. And you know, we have a law in Lagos State, the Prevention Against Domestic Violence Law 2007, which adequately addresses domestic violence.
And anybody can be a victim?
If you're in that particular situation, yes.
It could be a man, it could be a woman.
It could be man, it could be... So far, I've had a domestic violence case that the man was the victim.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any helplines?
Yes.
How do people reach out to you if they need to report a case?
We have toll-free lines. We're encouraging members of the public to use the 112 emergency lines. Okay, and they get connected from there. Yes, we get service.
112.
112.
Thank you very much, Lola, for coming today. Very eye-opening, very educating. I hope people get to take this seriously. I don't know if it's only Lagos State that has a situation like this, but hopefully other states also have centers that can work for women and Nigerians generally. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with more right here on Rubbin Minds. Please stay with us.